I'm Richard Marter, the fabricator here at Honest Charley Garage, and today we're looking at replacing some we need some rust repair on the front fender of the 51 Ford Street Rodder Road Tour car. Or what we're going to show you is how to make one of these things really simple at home. We'll begin by making another pattern, and then we'll make the hammer form to form the sheet metal, and then we'll have to do a little shrinking and stretching to get the contours of the front fender. So the first thing we're going to have to do is pull the fender off to get it a little bit more accessibility. Okay, the first step of the rust repair is going to be bracing the two parts of your fender. As you can see, there's a seam here and a seam here. Well, if you were to cut this loose and just take it apart, these are just going to be out there, then they could wind up anywhere, you know, they'll go, and then when you put it back on the car, it's not going to line back up with your grill. So what you want to do is just take any kind of scrap metal you have laying around and connect these two pieces and just put a tack on each end, and that's going to hold its distance in relation to each other so that when you put your new patch panel in there that you know you're going to be right back at the same spot. So now that we have the fender off the car, we have it braced up in the front to keep it from moving. So now it's time when you make your pattern, basically just trace along the contour of what you want, and make note that these have like 3/4 inch bends. So as you make your pattern, you're only going to follow the outside contour, but what you'll want to make notes to add the 3/4 of an inch, so you'll have the metal to return back in there to make the complete piece. So now what we'll want to do is make our pattern and then transfer that over to a piece of sheet metal and also a piece of 2x oak. And what we'll do with the oak is we're going to make a hammer form. Means that it would be nice to put these in a box break, but they're not a perfectly straight line, so therefore that's what requires you to have to make the hammer form so you can make like a slight radius on your bend. So as you can see, we've made our pattern and it's perfect fit for the contour of the fender. So, and you also notice that I've made little notes like add 3/4, because the reason you want to do that is because you want to return this over, and that's actually where this panel is going to get its rigidity from. So now that you know that, you just want to transfer your pattern onto your sheet metal. And you want to trace it out and making note of where you want to add your 1/2 inch. And your 3/4 on the side. So you just, and on this right here, you can fudge a little bit. I'm just decent at eyeballing measurements. And then also we got to add 3/4 of an inch here. So basically that's what you'll be left with, and then just basically take it to the bandsaw, cut around your outside perimeter, then you're ready to set it in your hammer form. So now that we have our sheet metal cut, we've set it in our hammer form, and you notice we have a piece of 10 gauge metal on top sandwiching the sheet metal in between the oak and the 10 gauge. And what that does, if you didn't have this 10 gauge up, you wouldn't get a nice crisp edge. It would kind of like just want to roll, which is not right for this application. So now that we have it set up, we'll just take our hammer and just slowly start working it down till we get to where we need it to go. Okay, so now that we've used our hammer form, got our edges bent down, you can see the piece is starting to take shape. But the problem is now that this piece is flat and this has a compound curve. So now it's time to put this on a shrinker and stretcher to get the same shape, so that way we make sure we're going to stay consistent with the whole piece. As you come along, you can see the arch that it starts putting in there. One advice, like a handy tip on this part right here, constantly check it, because if you go too much, you're looking at a lot more work, a lot more headache trying to get it to, trying to get the bend pulled back out as you did putting it back in. So it's always handy is like shrink a little bit and then check it. Always compare it to your original piece. So I believe we're getting close to that. Now that we've got it shrink and stretched and where I think we're going to need it, we're going to go compare it one last time to our Fender, but I believe it's going to be a go. So, and it looks like where we are where we need to be. So now our next move is going to be removing the old piece and then sliding this one right back in and welding it. So now that we have removed the old piece, fabricated the new piece, we're ready to weld it back in. So the route we're going to go, which will be close to the factory spot welds, or we're going to make plug welds. You notice the holes right here at the seams. So that's where the Miller-Matic 211 is going to come in. It's basically going to just be a quick shot in each of the holes. It's going to fill it up, very little grinding, and the piece is going to be ready to go for another 50 years. So now that we've finished up our grinding, this thing is ready to be set back on the car. So for more racing, customizing, and restoring tips, go to MillerWelds.com.